Hello and welcome, guys. Welcome to London. How are you?
Yeah, we're very, very well, thanks, Matt. How are you?
Yeah, all good. But I haven't been sort of trapped in Western Australia like you for 2 years. We've been allowed to travel for a while now. So you're here in London. Listing happened a few weeks ago. You're going to be doing what, a little roadshow around UK and Europe, are you?
That's exactly right. Yeah. So going around with our Nomad and to clients over the next couple of days. And we've got a fair few of the investment banks down at Canary Wharf later in the week. Then we're heading into Germany, obviously to our battery recycling plant, where we're opening that on the 28th of March. And we're heading up to Pori, Finland, to have a look at our vanadium recovery project.
Fantastic. And what's the end game here? Obviously, you've got the listing. You've got to tell people that you exist, and how's that going to work for you in terms of, do you think you expect to sort of see AIM become the main exchange for you guys?
Look, we've certainly got to get our story out there. Europe is our centre of operations from a geographic point of view. The battery recycling in Germany, Eli joint venture with Bondelti in Portugal, the vanadium recovery project up in Finland. The market that makes the most sense to us is London. And, we're very much looking forward to qualifying to become bearers of the green mark in future.
Okay, well, that's good news, guys.
Matt, I also think that I was going to say there's also a little bit of a slow burn as well here because we didn't raise any money. So it'll take us a minute to raise awareness and get the liquidity up. And fortunately, we've got the time to do that. So, it's nice timing.
I think it is, and I think geopolitical situations and tensions will help in those conversations in terms of expediting conversations. I suspect, because as supply chains have had difficulties, as markets with commodities have been quite volatile of late. Be interesting to see what people are asking, and we're going to see you on Friday, and hopefully we'll be able to answer some of those questions for us. But the other thing that's happened, which is why I actually wanted to speak to you today, was big news. Mercedes-Benz is now a partner. Wow. How long's that been on the works for, Chris?
It's been a while. The Mercedes guys are nothing if not diligent in having a look at our technology and making sure that, it meets their requirements. So, we were very, very happy that ahead of executing the formal agreements that Mercedes was happy to tell the world about, Primobius being its technology partner in the field of lithium battery recycling.
Right. And so, what exactly is the purpose of the JV between Primobius and how do you pronounce it? Licular. Okay.
Yeah. So it'd be like lithium and circular sort of put together. And so, look, essentially, what Primobius will do once we sign the agreements is to design and build them a 10-tonne per day integrated battery recycling plant and install that in custom-made facilities at their Kuppenheim operations in Germany.
Okay. So, inside an already fabricated building, or how long would this take to actually get up and running? I guess.
So, look, the first part of the plant we think will go into existing existing buildings, but in their press releases they've put out a fancy design for their new plant.
And then our role, Matt, is to continue to support them with the technology at an R&D level as they go through and start testing all their future chemistries, because, of course, they're going to be cell manufacturers themselves as well as having end-of-life batteries coming out of their vehicles.
Okay, yeah. So what's the upside for you guys here? I'm trying to work out, because JV sounds fantastic, but and a technology partner and design partner, what's that actually mean? Does that mean that you'll get paid for what you do, or is it a shared revenue, or how does that actually the JV actually work?
So we would be selling them the plant, and so for the initial throughput at 10 tonnes a day, we'd be giving them a royalty-free license to do that. obviously Mercedes is moving to, transition their fleet from internal combustion through to electric. They produce about 2.5 million cars. So, treat this as, one of the leading car makers who's committed to its own cell production and becoming integrated, actually having, a bolt-on battery recycling business at the back end so that they can satisfy not only the forthcoming EU battery regulations, but to satisfy their own ESG obligations.
Well, tell us about that, because are they doing this because they're not sure if they can secure their supply chain for lithium and other metals, or is it a marketing exercise, or is this a regulatory component which they have to factor into their design?
Yeah, look, I think, for these guys, embracing the circular economy and decarbonising the EV and recycling is an important part of that. In terms of, even if we recycled every lithium battery in the world in 2030, it would only provide enough feedstocks for 10% of that year's production. So it's not a panacea to the supply issues at present. But by 2040, we think that the global recycling market will produce 50% of the battery materials needed for new production. So, for Mercedes, they've got ambitions to be net zero. So, green steel for the cars, having as much recycled content as they possibly can in the battery supply chain, and they're going to make their own cells. So I think they're at the EU battery regs don't really come in until mid-decade. I think it's just a testimony. They've been pioneers in a lot of the innovations in the auto world, and this would be an example of that in the field of recycling.
Okay, so more importantly, I guess your shareholders want to understand what it means for Primobius, and obviously Neometals as the major shareholder of that company, is what's the scale-up opportunity here? And, does it just stop with Mercedes-Benz? Is this an exclusive? Are you tied in?
Well, look, we've announced that we had done an option, a licensing and option, a buy-in option with Stelco, steel company in Canada, with respect to deploying plants into North America. Mercedes is another business development opportunity. At Tochu, we've got an MOU to develop a business into Japan. You can be rest assured that we think that the Mercedes-Benz deal will catalyse quite a lot of the discussions with the pipeline that is not public, and that will result in more plants in the future. I think, there's more than 250 gigafactories going that'll be in production in 2030. Each one of those will need a small plant of the size that we're looking to build, 50 tonnes a day, which is our commercial one that we're looking at building in Germany, and the studies finished mid-year. The same size that we're looking with Stelco. So there's opportunities to deploy multiple, and that's about 10% of, what the ingredients that you put into the front of a gigafactory come out as production scrap. For end of life in 10 years' time, you have to scale that up by a factor of 10. So in terms of the scale, and, I think the overarching thing, when you look at these technologies, you look at the total addressable market in terms of tonnes and try to have a stab at what you think our penetration rate will be for that market. And then, how good is the technology? Well, now that we're going with Mercedes, they're going to run with it first. They've been through a very extensive due diligence. The probability that we get a higher penetration rate than you thought last week is a reality now. So, one, we're going to build more plants. Two, the plants are going to get bigger. And three, we're going to have a more aggressive market penetration rate than the market thinks we can achieve now or previously.
Well, and also, I guess, having Mercedes-Benz as a customer is a mark of endorsement. Does selling get a little bit easier too?
There's certainly been a validation piece that I think the market's been waiting for, to see a brand name OEM, align with what we're doing. And so now that that's occurred, and it's been a while in the making, I think a lot of the discussions we've been having, some of that diligence has already been done for counterparties by virtue of Mercedes. So, it's very helpful to our cause for sure.
Okay, and Jeremy, one final one for you. Obviously, ESG on everyone's lips, zero carbon initiatives everywhere you go. What have been the questions that have been thrown at you around that in terms of your own credentials, the Neometals credentials and Primobius credentials? Is that an important part of it?
Yeah, it is. From a Primobius perspective, because we're engaging with the market, having commercial discussions. So every time you have a request for information, or an RFQ process with a counterparty, they're going through a lot of those credentials, ESG's right up the front, along with safety, etc. So, we're right at the coalface with all of that. In terms of the market, I think Chris and I are, ears wide open to listen to some of the ESG funds we're going to meet with and see where their priorities lie, because it's been a while since we've been able to travel. But yeah, there's just continued and increasing interest. We've employed someone full-time to help out with our internal ESG committee. So it just gets, bigger and there's more focus on it for good reason, because it's, it's certainly not greenwashing in terms of what we're doing. So, onwards on that front.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, we're going to see you Friday live and in person, which is really exciting. We're going to maybe dig into the weeds on some of the other projects which you've got coming through over the next 2 and 3 years. But congrats on the Mercedes-Benz deal.
Thanks a lot, Matt. Have a great day.